So here's an excellent example of why digital theatre is so awesome and important. Rovers by Katherine, Lyall, Watson with Roxanne MacDonald and Barbara Loewen was originally staged in 2018 at Norpa, and with the support of Critical Stages has been touring regional venues in 2021. Now, normally I'd never get to see this show unless it came to Melbourne. I really hope it does because I'm sure it's great in person and I'd absolutely see it again. In the meantime, however, a digital version of the July production staged in Queensland at Redland Performing Arts Centre is available online until the 29th of August. The digital version begins with shots of the theatre foyer, backstage clips of the actors getting ready and the audience heading into the theatre to take their seats. It's a nice way to remind those of us watching at home of the experience of going to the theatre itself, but also in a neatly packaged and brief way that is a lot more accessible than the real thing for those of us with social anxiety, especially related to foyer conversation. Actors Roxanne MacDonald and Barbara Loewen are on stage already, with Pete, the stage manager, funeral director and guitarist, setting up around them. MacDonald is chatting amiably with the audience as they enter, and it gives the evening a welcoming and homely feel. The set is a bearish stage with a corrugated iron wall and flickering neon tubes. Good for touring, of course. Corrugated iron's such a signifier of outback Australia. We're watching Enterprise at the moment, and there's a planet where the buildings are all corrugated iron, and I can't help seeing it as a future outback planet. Like Australian bird noises and flowers, signifiers of the exotic to imperial eyes, these tropes of colonialism remain with us, buried still in the future. The wall becomes a screen for projections throughout the show. Rovers is as much a show about these two actors as it is about the mythical monolith that is the Australian woman. There's echoes of the drover's wife, Olive and Emma, and Coralie Lansdowne, but the core of Rovers is the 30-year friendship between MacDonald and Loewen themselves. As working actors, these two have lived the hard-fought battles to survive and stay in the industry, and their story weaves together their own history with imagined meetings between their grandparents and historicised depictions of bushranging women. The show proper begins with a wake as Pete wheels on an empty bathtub that serves as an open casket. I'm not really clear on whose wake it is, but it doesn't feel like it matters at this point. Like a wake, this show isn't about grieving a loss, but celebrating a life. Two lives in this instance. Loewen gives us a brief reading from Dylan Thomas's Do Not Go Gentle into That Dark Night, which quickly shifts into a fictional memory of their own shared youth together as children. They describe the first time they saw Uluru and going to a supermarket in the middle of Australia where they get the best oysters they've ever eaten. They become childlike as they discuss the Matchbox cars they liked playing with, more than the Barbie dolls that they were given, and as children they play bushrangers on their horses Thunderbolt and Lightning, bailing up a train. Their early stories are of intergenerational tragedy, as they are for so many Australian women. Addiction, alcoholism and violence in the home, the need to escape it and explore, leads them to introducing their fictionalised grandmothers, Loewen's the intrepid RP-toned Barbie Toy, and MacDonald's the quick-witted and sharp-minded Auntie Jessie Miller. Barbie Toy, also an actor, we first encounter in the outback fixing her broken-down Land Rover Pollyanna, when Auntie Jessie arrives and basically bullies Toy into taking her on as the guide she so desperately needs. Toy's trying to get to Sydney and offers a princely sum of £3 and 10 pence for Auntie Jessie's services. They set off together, Thelma and Louising their way into the desert and each other's hearts. Over their journey they become close friends, echoing the journey of friendship that MacDonald and Loewen have been on since they did their first show together touring Taming of the Shrew in 1996. Their own stories are a telling commentary on 35 years of acting for stage and screen. Alongside a stellar list of productions that they've performed in are stories of grinding poverty and dissolution. At one point or another, they've both used gaffer tape to hold their shoes together in the lean times to keep them going another year, and I'm a bit in love with both of them at this point. I can't tell you how often I've done that, nor how much shit I've regularly copped for it. It's really nice to know I'm not the only one. MacDonald has had to take on jobs as a security guard, and Loewen has thought of working in a funeral home. It's interesting to think about how these alternate career paths demand many of the same skills as acting. Empathy, ritual, projection of power, careful observation of behaviour. It's almost like training in theatre and performance has a lot more to offer potentially employable young people than just singing and dancing. It's almost like it can turn students into better, more effective human beings no matter what job they do. But what do I know? I'm sure the universities have their priorities straight. And the show does have a good old-fashioned sing-along with the audience. Loewen tells us that she's always wanted to play a bushranger, and Rovers finally gives her the chance as she becomes Jessie Hickman, the lady bushranger, and MacDonald plays along as the bushranger Black Mary. Loewen's Hickman has a swagger and cigarette-smoking vibe that feels like it owes more to American gunslinger movies, while MacDonald's Black Mary contrasts these romantic notions of frontier freedom with the brutality of Black Mary's experience after being shot by her husband when he gets her pregnant, and then going to hunt him down and cut him to pieces for it. And she tells us, "But if a black woman kills a white man, the troopers kill a lot of us." Caroline Dunphy's direction makes great use of poor theatre techniques, such as turning a few tyres into horses, the shelving in the back, which holds some of the props, becomes Barbie Toy's Land Rover, and the bathtub remains on stage throughout as a reminder of the open casket waiting at the wake's end. Barbie and Jessie are a Don Quixote and Sancho Panza without the madness, tilting at the windmills of their own history and their profession, with their friendship as their landmarks and stars to navigate by. And there's even some good advice for planning your own funeral. Make sure your loved ones know where your super is. It's a terrific show, it's sweet, it's warm, it's touching, and it's very funny. I really hope it gets the chance to come to Melbourne. The country needs theatre like this. I mean, the country needs theatre. Oh, and turns out, spoilers follow, that the wake is for Lowing, though she warns that it might be McDonald's for the next show. Being alive and getting to see your own wake, I mean, that's the dream, isn't it?